nice to be here. I know everybody probably says that, comes, but it really is. Lily and Alex and everybody, I forget things now because and Adam and Ken and everybody here at USS is really incredible. This series is all summer. Great lineup. And the tech here is incredible. Cameras, and I hope you cut this part. You edit it. Well, yeah, I have a new solo album coming out this fall, and in October. And these pieces are some things that are on there. And yeah, I'm going to continue with one now. Set list here. This one's called Perverted by Perseverance. I hope you like it. And if you hear anything you like, don't feel free to, let me know. Scream or yell. But more importantly, if you hear something you don't like, I'd also like to know about that. Critique is always good. It's like, I wasn't sure about that part, or that seemed a little weak. No, kidding aside, I always like that. Thanks. Chicago is such an incredible guitar town, right?
Yeah.
I feel like that's true.
Think about it. So it's an honor to be here playing guitar in Chicago, for real. Yeah, it's another new piece. It's dedicate this to not the city of Chicago. Although the previous song had maybe was more influenced by Chicago guitar music that I love. Yeah, said a few more. I have some albums out there for sale. Everything's up for negotiation. We can work it out, you know? If you wanna. and Lily, Andrew, and Adam, Alex, and everyone here. The staff is incredible. Come next week. Who's a poet? Come next week. Who's next week?
John
Yell's next week. And yeah, hope you enjoyed it. Thanks for coming inside because I couldn't have done this outside. Soft. Yeah, it's the last piece, and after have some beers, really good beer. Thanks again. Okay, thanks for coming out, everybody. This was really fun. Really beautiful place, and it's always good to be in Chicago. I'll actually be back in October. The Hungry Brain, I think, on the 20th or something like that. Might be happening.
Okay, guys. Thanks for being here today. This is Brandon Seabrook. Amazing performance.
Thank you. Thanks so much. Really, thank you.
Yeah, no, it's great to have you here. Been a big fan for a while,
Wow.
so.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I guess one of the first things I wanted to ask you about is like your performance that you just did and some of your other projects that I've listened to. It's very like through composed.
Yeah.
But then you also are improvising. And so
Yeah.
like how do you structure those, like how do you collage those two worlds together?
Yeah, well, I always start with a small motive. I take the
Okay.
smallest little kernel and I try to keep that going throughout. State it, come back to it, and then improvise off of it. I don't really ever do like completely improvised sets.
Yeah.
So all these pieces have some, little bits of, as you could hear, little motives. I always love that idea. Like in jazz school, it's like, remember what you play.
Yeah.
As a through line through
Yeah.
a piece to come back to it. So I sort of just use that as a jumping off point, and it just, for me, it works. It's just more comfortable to just get into it solo. I'm not like, I'm not
No, I
like a
could hear
straight up
that.
improviser solo. But I mean, I'd say that's probably like 50-50.
Yeah, no, I think
60-40. 60 worked out, 40, let's see where we go.
Yeah. No, I think
Or
that's,
I don't, something like that.
No, I think that's a good, a cool way to approach it.
Yeah,
And it for like to listen to, you can hear like that you're expanding and like manipulating these different motives and ideas.
Yeah, always like that small, like, just from how it works with my mind, I just gotta keep it kind of condensed and work off that, rather than I can't really remember longer. It's just the way my brain works in small spurts, I guess let's call it.
Yeah. Do you so you have like kind of like multiple different like cells or
Yeah,
anything
cells.
like that?
That's the
kind
more
of?
appropriate. Yeah, cells. I have multiple cells, and I work those cells out a lot. Some of them are kind of got to get them down, and with also solo playing, like have you done it?
A little bit.
It's like that energy is so
It's
different
intense.
when you get up there. You're like, you think you can, so have to really work on those cells a lot, so the nerves don't get the best of them.
Yeah,
it's
yeah,
like
totally.
solo playing is hard like that. You got to really practice it, like in the practice room, like get up there.
Yeah.
It's especially with the audience this close. You're like
The cameras.
cameras,
Really zoomed in.
other musicians, Jim Baker over there.
Yeah, and then like cause for your like one of your more recent releases, the Brutal Love Chunk.
Oh yeah, Brutal
Which
Love
is
Jam.
great.
Yeah, thanks.
It is like a similar thing.
Yeah,
But
it's-
then like how do you write it out for the musicians?
Yeah, it takes me a long time.
Yeah.
I have also like trouble with spatial stuff on scores, but
Yeah.
I just I try to make it really clear, and just they're small cells also, even though sometimes it sounds like they're longer cells. I work in like 6-8 bar groups and try to work each group and then just put them together. I don't know, is that
Yeah. That's cool.
so and we work it out as a band. I'm lucky with my groups. It's not like come in and read the chart. My stuff isn't like come in and look at the chart and read it. Like it's like we all work it out together, and people will make suggestions and then I'll revise it, and
Oh, that's cool.
and it's always changing. The gig, like with the large group, every time we play and sound check or rehearsal, someone will do something and we'll change it. So I always like to change it. It's never like this is the book.
Yeah.
Kind of. I don't know. Does that answer?
Yeah, no, that's cool.
It's kind of the same way I put this stuff together.
Yeah.
But just for more players, I guess. I don't.
Yeah. Do you start like with guitar?
Sometimes, but then on that record, I tried to keep piano, like not start with guitar.
Yeah.
And use some other techniques, some sort of like 20th century classical stuff.
Yeah.
But in a very basic way.
Yeah.
Canons and 12 tones and stuff like that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because I also know you did some stuff with Anthony Braxton.
Yeah.
Does that like influence?
Sure. I got to play with him 3 times a while ago. We did some gigs, and it was amazing. The way his compositions are really difficult. So mine are not. I do remember him at one gig we played. This is not answering your question at all.
No,
but
we don't have to stick to the
yeah,
questions.
no, he
We can
definitely
just-
influenced his energy, and he's an influence. But he leaned back to me at a gig, and he's like, "What's your last name?" That was amazing. And then he asked me what somebody else in the band's name was. So I was standing right behind him. So I love that. That's what I remember him. And actually, in Illinois, funny story, I was driving between, I think, Chicago and Champaign. Would that be on the route? Yeah, I mean, but
Yeah.
between
Yeah.
here and there, and we stopped off in Santa Claus, Illinois. That's a place, right?
Santa Claus?
Right? Indiana. I'm sorry, Indiana. Not
Okay.
So we were on our way back. Sorry. So we're in this gas station like 10 minutes off the exit,
Yeah.
and there was nothing
Yeah.
out there. Like, we get in the gas station, and I'm putting gas in the car, and the bass player comes in. He's like, Anthony Braxton's in the bathroom. I was like, what? And he came out, and it was amazing. Anyway. And we all talked and did pictures. He loved it, of course. He's like, pictures.
Wait, is that how you like met him?
No, I had
Okay.
already known him. He's like, Brandon. No, but
You, like, met him at
I
the
mean,
gas station and
it's
you're
just
like,
like
"Can we play?"
we were going in between. He was playing in St. Louis,
Okay.
and we were going to St. Louis from maybe Champaign, not Chicago. Anyway, but I like those Anthony Braxton stories. Like,
Wow. So
he
you
didn't know
you'd
my last
already
name.
played.
We already had played together a few
Yeah.
times, so he knew me. We had rehearsed, and it was
That's
funny.
crazy.
He came out of the bathroom. Yeah, Anthony
That's
Braxton.
a great.
at Boston
Yeah, that's
was
like
in-
that's a sign.
That's a sign. Yeah,
That's some type of
it
sign.
was really him, and he came out, and it was him.
Yeah. How did you get connected to him in the first
I
place?
got connected to him through Mary Halverson.
Okay.
I think
cool.
she was like, "You gotta get Brandon," and then we did 3 or 4 gigs together. Some nice concerts in big groups. The 9+1. I think there's a recording of it out
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
there from the Big Ears Festival in Knoxville
Okay,
from like
cool.
8 years ago or so.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, I just was in awe of him. I guess that's what I learned. Just wow, so much energy and joy and discovery. And when he plays, it's like wow. So that's
Yeah.
more than composition or anything he wrote. Just him.
Yeah. Yeah.
I
Definitely.
was just
He's
like,
very
wow, this
deep
energy
and
is
spiritual.
yeah,
Wow.
yeah.
That's
He's
awesome.
funny. Anyway,
Yeah, I mean, it's that you talk about Mary Halverson because I feel like you both like her music and your music and like really kind of spoke to me as I was getting into improvised music because I felt like there was these people who had like definitely a clear jazz background
yeah,
and but also had a more like punk and rock background.
sure.
And so I just kind of wanted to ask about that.
Yeah, well, I come from rock and roll first and
Yeah.
foremost, and classic rock and stuff that led me back to the blues, and the blues kind of led me back around to jazz. And I always loved jazz, but I was afraid to try to play it. But as years went on, and I got more facility and get into it,
Yeah.
and then the worlds were separate. It was like rock and jazz. Banjo and guitar were like, and then they slowly kind of came together as I became more confident in jazz, and then
Yeah.
But I love that mix, that juxtaposition of like more of the punk rock with jazz, back and forth, toggling between those is kind of like, I like doing that.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I
Because
appreciate it.
you're also
I have
come from that
Yeah, I
background
come
too.
from that background too. And so I just feel like, and it's nice when you can hear a guitar player that's like heard guitar music before.
Yeah, right.
and
I've
isn't
listened to
just
a
coming
lot of
from
guitar-
like, I mean, like the jazz school
sure,
vibe.
which is nice.
Like,
Yeah,
I mean, not like jazz, like the like academia, more like that kind of thing.
I mean, the person I go back to the most and watch like master classes on YouTube is Peter Bernstein.
Oh yeah,
I watch his master classes all the time, and it's just get so much from that.
yeah,
That not only technically, but yeah, just I love that. I sort of always go back to jazz guitar. I mean, I practice jazz guitar kind of harmony stuff all the
Yeah.
time. It's kind of what I'm drawn to. But
definitely.
when I get on stage with the band, it's like I can't contain the rock and roll, or just that
Yeah.
energy of punk rock, and
Yeah.
that's what I love.
Yeah, but it's,
pulling
like,
off a
very
tight
connected.
set in a set list of the band with quick segues and like the energy of that.
Yeah,
That's what I kind of gets me pumped about playing.
yeah, totally. And I feel like it's definitely connected.
Oh yeah,
And
absolutely.
Yeah, like you're talking about Chicago jazz
Yeah.
guitar players. Can you say more
or
about
blues.
that?
Yeah, I mean Muddy Waters,
Yeah,
Jeff Parker. I don't know that lineage. Just kind of
Yeah,
connects it back.
definitely.
I listened to those guys all the time growing up when I was
Yeah.
like in the '90s and discovering jazz and rock and the Chicago scene. All those bands I listened to. Isotope 217 and
Yeah.
Pete Cozy and who Tortoise and all those bands. They
yeah,
had a big influence on me. How they mixed jazz and rock, and I love that.
yeah.
I guess Chicago had loved a lot of the players from here. Buddy Guy, and so many. Sister Rosetta Tharpe, she was in Chicago for a while, wasn't she?
Yeah, I think so.
She played here for a while before she moved back to wherever.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, all that stuff. Chicago, Terry Kath. I mean,
Yeah.
I know.
Yeah, yeah.
Went other places later, which
Yeah.
I still like, but
Yeah. Oh no, that's cool.
I don't know. Is that answer?
Yeah. No, I mean, have you been to Buddy Guys?
I haven't, but I.
Me neither. But
Yeah.
I
haven't. He still plays there. Yeah.
I think I should go.
Yeah, you probably should go.
Yeah.
But like I was saying before, like playing the Green Mill, I've had so many great
Yeah.
times here in Chicago. Playing the Green Mill and
Yeah, you were there. Like you said, like 10 years ago.
yeah, maybe 8 or 9 years ago with Ben Allison. We came a couple times. We did the 2 nights, 3 sets a night, and it was great.
Yeah, that's cool.
I feel like I was really lucky to be able to do that because I don't play in a lot of bands like that might play a residency there, but that band was, and I was like really special
Yeah.
to play there.
No, that's awesome. Yeah, because you were talking about playing with Allison
Miller, yeah.
Miller, who's a big teacher of mine,
Mentor
and
of yours,
I
yeah.
just texted her and she said to ask you about your band together.
Oh yeah, Needle Driver.
Needle
Yeah,
Drop-
yeah. We
Needle
actually
Drop.
have a record out we made like 7 years ago. Pretty proggy punk rock instrumental trio, pretty much all through composed.
Yeah.
And we worked on that for like 3 years, really hard.
Yeah.
And that record you can find on my Bandcamp.
Yeah.
Needle Driver with Allison Miller, who you're familiar with as a jazz drummer.
Yeah, she's
But
the best.
man, she can.
Yeah.
Her rock chops are incredible. They
Yeah.
might even be better. No, they're not better. But I mean, they're serious.
Yeah,
like,
yeah. No, it's, and I feel like,
Like,
you have that connection
we
of like
do.
you have played with a bunch of like rock musicians and
And she
singer
has too.
songwriters.
Yeah,
right?
singer songwriters too. Yeah.
Yeah.
And she has too.
Yeah.
And she came up kind of making a name for herself doing that.
Yeah, totally. Do you feel like you like live in those? You said like those two different worlds are more together now.
Yeah, in my own music, but also as a freelance musician, just working, the worlds can be all separated. You know, some people only know me as a banjo player or a mandolin player or
Yeah.
a wedding musician. You know, I'm just like in these
Well.
beautiful times that you could do your own music.
Maybe you could play my wedding.
Yeah, that's right. Beautiful times that you can play your own music, it all comes together. But sometimes I separate those chops. I did a recording session recently with this pretty big pop musician, and it was so fun because it just went right in on.
Who was it?
It was David Byrne.
Oh, that's fun.
Yeah, this band that I play in the Ghost Train Orchestra.
Oh, wow.
He kind of got us to be his backing band, but we were in the studio, and it was incredible just playing parts to songs, and
Yeah.
it was just like so fun, and he would get excited about certain little small things that you would do and be like, oh, okay. Be like, yeah.
Yeah.
So I put all this stuff away. No one wants to hear this there. So that's,
Yeah.
but it's just as a musician trying to work and survive, you do a lot of, but my own stuff, yeah, I finally put them together in a way that I think is good. Sometimes I hear it and I'm like, oh, I just can't help myself. It's just how it comes out.
No, I think that's great. And it's like inspiring to like know that it's possible. Because
Yeah.
I sometimes feel like people, like you feel like you have to be in these like different worlds. And it's cool to
Sure.
also go between worlds and scenes and stuff.
Do you do that here a lot?
Yeah, I feel like Chicago is a good city
Yeah.
for that as well.
Definitely.
And it's good to have like the variety.
I mean, the rock music here is like, wow,
Yeah,
deep history.
definitely. Yeah, so it's a lot of great stuff. But then sometimes it can be confusing because it's like you don't feel like jazz enough for jazz.
Right,
or
or
like
right.
rock
I
or
feel that
punk for
sometimes
no-
too. Yeah.
I don't know, but it's also like
Totally.
that doesn't really matter. You
I feel that. I
Yeah.
feel that still. You always feel that a little bit because
Yeah.
you're not settled in, especially with drummers. And I feel like the rock drumming thing gets a bit, just play like a rock beat on this. And I'm like, I don't know about that.
Yeah.
Like drummers,
Yeah,
they don't
yeah.
respect that rock beat,
Yeah.
How's your beat? Oh, okay. Check that.
Yeah,
or jazz
yeah.
players.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
Maybe I'm getting a little too off topic,
No,
but
no,
that respect from the other.
Yeah, it is interesting, but it keeps things like the variety keeps things interesting. And then do you feel like the different perspectives have like shaped how you approach?
Definitely, yeah. Also presentation too, like the different approach. That's something I feel like we don't talk, like musicians like to think about sometimes. Like you have enough to do with like just putting everything together and getting there, but also like the presentation of it, like how do we look, or what are we doing, or how are we setting up, or feel like that.
Yeah, how do you think about that?
I just take it from people who are doing it, like what I like. I see people do. I feel like I've been focusing on trying to focus on presentation a lot more with my groups.
Yeah.
Past the music, like where are we playing? When are we playing? How many? I mean, I love to play, but I almost love music too much, so it's like to play like even less.
Yeah.
Ever feel like that? Like
Yeah.
can't play all the time anymore.
Yeah.
It's like it's too special. I just want to make it.
Yeah.
So try to make things, but I think I'm off your question. But
No,
Yeah.
again, there's like no
yeah,
like strict question.
yeah. I think Miles Davis, when in that documentary, I don't know if you saw that, they asked him in the '70s, like, why don't you play those jazz songs anymore? He's like, I love it too much.
Well,
I just kind of feel like that with music, like in New York, especially, you can get carried away playing like every day, but
yeah.
thinking about more presentation and presenting things and more calculated, like less mean more.
Mhm.
But maybe erase this part. I don't know where I'm going with this.
No, that makes sense. That makes sense. Yeah, being like thoughtful about like how you perform and like.
That's more what I think about now than actual how things meld, and I think that just is kind of going. But I'm trying to be more thoughtful of it about with my own stuff.
Yeah. Do you feel like you think about like audience?
Yeah. What are we going to give the audience? Like, this show's got to be special. I want to put work into that side of it. You know, let's make a bill that has like all kinds of things happening on it, but it's, you know, and it's still possible, you know. Yeah, I kind of think about that more.
That's cool.
Yeah, than the actual like getting the band going. I feel like that will just happen, but
Yeah.
it's also, as you know, not easy.
Yeah. Because you've had so many different bands.
Yeah, I've had a lot of different bands, and I like to try to keep. Oh, another thing with rock music and stuff is like bands. Like I love the idea of keeping the band going and keeping the personnel and somehow, some way, keeping that rolling.
Yeah.
The relationships with people in your band, and yeah, it's hard to do in New York, and I think probably anywhere, but New York, especially because everyone's hustling and playing so much. But try to make the situation good for the band. Think about the band. Yeah. Make it fun.
Yeah, definitely.
Don't make it too. Know what you're doing, but don't make it too intense on people. Think about
it's like
others.
a good balance.
Yeah,
You gotta
yeah.
strike. Yeah, no, I that's really cool because I think that can get lost sometimes in the jazz scene, improvised music.
Yeah.
Because like I feel like having a band too and like that community is a lot of what music is about too.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, we can't like lose sight of that.
Yeah, and I think a lot of people don't, but it's just something I've been trying to focus on more.
Yeah, do you have any like current groups? I mean, I know that Gerald Cleaver
Gerald
and
Cleaver and
Cooper Moore, that's
group,
a really
we've been
awesome
going for
band.
a while,
Yeah.
and this large group, Black Host isn't going anymore, but sometimes we play every 3 or 4 years. But I have a trio with Gerald and Cooper Moore, and we keep that going. And my large group, and I have a string trio, and the group with Allison went for a while.
Yeah.
When we were going for a while, and then it just kind of died off, and so trying to keep
And Power Plant.
that went for a while, like 6 years, but then everybody moved. Like the bass player moved to Denmark, and my brother plays drums, lives in Boston, and it just got to be.
Yeah.
But it was nice.
Yeah, definitely.
It's like we almost had it dialed in, and then.
Yeah.
Yeah, it takes. But it was cool. Yeah.
Yeah,
Tried to keep it going.
They're awesome records. Do you have any like projects like upcoming that you're excited about?
Well, I'm excited about this solo album that I'm going to put out this fall. It's been recorded. It's coming out in October, and it's some of the stuff you've heard, and also some pieces that are very layered, like guitar, banjo, orchestras, and there's also a lot of banjo on it.
Okay.
I didn't bring it because I said the plane was so small. I was worried about getting it in, but so that's what I'm excited about. Yeah.
That's cool. When did you start playing banjo, like before or after guitar? Or
I started playing it much after guitar. I went to school at the New England Conservatory, and my teacher there, Hank Isnetsky, was part of the klezmer revival in the early 80s. And he said, hey, Brandon, have you ever played? I was into klezmer, and I was in his class. He's like, have you ever played tenor banjo? Because it was part of the klezmer music. And I said no, and I checked one out of the instrument library, and I just kind of took a few lessons on it and got going. So it was many years after guitar.
Yeah.
And I just kind of that was also banjo, guitar were also separate, and then they slowly moved in. And the technique of tremoloing that I do a lot sort of comes from the banjo plectrum, because in order to have sustain, you have to sort of like a drum roll, I guess is similar.
Yeah, you're very percussive.
Yeah, it's very percussive. I've always loved drums. You know, my brother played drums.
Yeah.
I'm always drawn to the drums first in a band, I think. I always kind of wish that I played drums.
I bet you could.
I don't know, but
Yeah.
but rhythm always takes precedent over pitch for me, even when I'm composing.
Yeah.
I'm always more drawn to the rhythm. I tell my band, like, it's okay if you just make sure the rhythm's there, but the pitch doesn't. But if you tell a musician that, they're like, no, I'm going to do both.
Yeah.
That's not why I say it, but I'm honest.
Right. No, I think that's a good way to approach it.
I'm always in rhythm. Yeah, that group that I have with Gerald and Cooper Moore says, like we're a rhythm ensemble.
Yeah, it
Because
really is like that.
we're very, rhythm takes over everything else, like pitch, it's whatever. I mean, no, it's cool.
Yeah.
But in that band, we don't think about that sort of thing. We just think about this just kind of rhythm, interlocking rhythmically, and just going for that. And that's our motivic development, is like rhythms.
That's cool. So do you like write it together?
No, we improvise that actually.
Oh, really?
But we
Okay.
have a style of improvisation that's pretty composition. I mean, we stay on things and like come back to them. We never talked about it, but that's just what we do.
Yeah, that is cool. Do
Yeah,
you
we
feel
don't
like if you
write-
talked about it, it would kind of like...
Yeah. I mean, the records are kind of, we take parts and make pieces out of them for the records.
Oh,
I mean,
you,
they're
like,
improvised, but we cut it up and...
Oh, you do? Okay.
Yeah. And sometimes I'll make a part out of something and overdub it. Some
Oh,
studio
wow.
enhancements and stuff, but nothing's written.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
It's difficult to write for people who are.
Yeah, he plays the diddley bow, which is this one-stringed. You know him, yeah,
Yeah.
it's one-stringed instrument. So, yeah, you just let him play. It's cool.
Yeah.
Everything's fine. You don't have to
awesome.
worry about that.
Yeah.
He just does whatever it's good.
Yeah, that's like a crazy,
Yeah,
a crazy
it's
band.
good people to have in your
Yeah.
band like that.
Did you just like ask them to...
Yeah, well, we played together in Gerald's band, Black
Yeah,
Host, and then
yeah.
I was like, "You guys want to do this gig?" And I thought it would just be a gig we would do and have fun, but it was like, whoa, we
Wow.
played. So we had a little bit of a history with that. So.
Oh, that's awesome. Yeah, and so you, like, going back to the banjo, because I
Yeah.
also noticed, like, a lot of your early discography, it's, like, a lot of klezmer music.
Yeah,
So
I've
how
done a
did
lot
you
of
get-
klezmer albums. Yeah,
Yeah,
just
like-
through Hankus, and then I got gigs, and I was like, wow. I was
Yeah.
touring and playing with the Klezmer Conservatory Band, and I moved to New York. I played with Frank London a lot, who's an
Wow.
amazing trumpet player and klezmer music, and then the whole sort of radical Jewish culture thing with John Zorn and Sadek. I don't play with John, but I played with a lot of bands that were
Yeah.
associated with Sadek. Naftali's Dream,
Okay,
in
yeah.
Boston, and some bands in Europe that were associated with that. And
Yeah, what was
so-
that like?
That was great. I mean, that was, learning. I knew the rep from playing with Hankus's traditional band, so I had sort of like a little bit of a bass for thanks for it's like jazz. You know
Yeah,
the
yeah.
tunes. You know the way I go.
Yeah.
And the cool thing about klezmer though is that it's really all about like the melody and embellishing the melody. There's no you don't playing over the changes or anything. It's like almost like Dixieland where you know the melody and you embellish it, but you stay with the melody. So I sort of learned more about melody from klezmer than other stuff in a way, just because when you take it, So anyway, I had that background, and then doing the Sadek kind of stuff was great because you could mix rock and jazz with it, and so that's where I kind of felt like I could really learn and get some stuff going.
Yeah,
So that was
cool.
fun. So yeah, I played a lot of that early discography.
Yeah, have you been doing much of it lately? or is-
I'd say a little bit,
Okay.
not so much. I played with this great band in New York called Gollum.
Oh,
I don't
yeah.
know if you heard of them. With them and some Frank London sometimes, and yeah, sometimes I'll get gigs, but not as much as I did. Coming up, I kind of did that a lot because it was a lot of work and stuff. There was a lot of gigs,
Yeah.
so I was like, yeah,
Yeah, that is cool.
made some money doing that.
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
pay your rent type
Yeah.
of stuff. But you were like, yeah, woo.
In just banjo, not guitar?
In guitar and mandolin
Okay.
too.
Oh,
Yeah,
mandolin. Yeah.
Yeah, so that was, I learned a lot.
Oh.
Important phase.
Yeah, and I
think.
feel like too time is really interesting in klezmer because it kind
Yeah.
of like slows or speeds
Yeah,
up.
yeah, and the drumming is really specific.
Yeah.
And there's only a few people who can really do it, which is interesting. Like really get it, because
Yeah.
it's not like polka. Like people think
Yeah.
it's like booch, 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 but it's not. It's different. It's like it's a different feel, and also the strumming. Yeah, it's this thing. You gotta like any tradition, you gotta get in there and figure it out.
Yeah. Have you
The great
tried
drummer
polka?
from Philly. No, I actually have done some polka gigs.
Yeah.
Yeah, from Banjo. Oktoberfest.
Yeah.
Is that big here? I bet.
Well, yeah, I mean,
Yeah, Chicago. Polka, yeah.
polka, yeah. That's cool. Do we have any? Oh, supposed to see the times.
Oh gosh.
Does anyone have any questions? And I'll repeat them.
How often are you doing? Is the 12-string just for solos, or?
No, well, I got
let me
it.
repeat it for the video.
Oh yeah.
Is the 12-string just for solos?
I got this guitar. Yeah, I've been. I had had my eye on this guitar for a long time. A 12-string. I've always wanted a 12-string, and I played a friend of mine who had the same model, and I got it, and a lot of this music was inspired by it. In the record that is coming out, a lot of it is done, but it's mostly solo. But I play it with some, try to incorporate it into live and stuff.
I've seen your number of times with
Yeah, this is a Jerry Jones Neptune. He was a builder in Nashville in the 80s and 90s, and it sort of looks like a Dan Electro kind of based on that, but it's a really...
very efficient.
Yeah, the intonation is incredible. It's like a artisanal guitar. The intonation is incredible. The neck is really fast, so it's easier to play them. I mean, it's still not as easy as 6-string, but it's easy.
But you're flying on the harmonic.
Yeah, and you can just really get around on that thing, which is not all 12 strings. You can do that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's very more rhythmic in a way.
Yeah,
So all
yeah.
The, twang.
The twang is nice.
Yeah.
With these pickups and stuff. Anyway, but.
And then you've been working with the tapes too.
Yeah, I've done that for a long time. I actually stole this idea from Pete Fitzpatrick, who was the original guitarist in Naftali's Dream. I saw him in 1998 hold this tape recorder up to his pickup, and I was like.
Yeah.
So I make my own tapes, and then I just.
Okay, so it's you recording. I mean, that was kind of some bells. Sounds.
Yeah, this is some percussion stuff that I. These are samples of the great Kenny Wollaston's sort of
really?
Percussion bells and stuff. I sampled it, and then I made
That's cool.
some tapes out of it. Yeah.
Well, that's a cool idea.
I always do samples like found sounds and stuff, and use a 4-track, and and it's totally chance. It just. I don't know. I don't start it at a spot that's like, oh, I'm gonna play it here. It just fills up. I filled up both sides, and it's just kind of you turn it on.
Yeah, that's great.
Go for it.
It sounds sick.
Yeah.
You have a question?
I have a question. I wouldn't have to ask this if I knew your total body of work a little better, but have you ever worked in black metal? Because I feel like the techniques you've developed, the skills
I love that stuff.
you
Yeah.
do some deranged shit.
Well, I
You
know.
can make Benji Faxat sound like Hoogie and the Flow.
Wow. I never really have, but I'm a big fan. The studio that I recorded a lot of my records at was Colin Marston. He plays in Krallis, and his own band is Behold the Octopus, but also Gorguts, and he is an incredible sort of more black metal, death metal historian, and he's really inspiring. But I never really try to play it. I don't know if I could really pull it off, but the influence is there. But I don't know if I don't know. I'm a little scared.
Imperial Triumph.
Yeah.
Yeah, because
They're good. Yeah. Yeah, they recorded with Colin too. Yeah. I'd be. I don't know.
I'm tired.
I'd
love to hear that.
Yeah, that was. But it's in there. Yeah, it's in there. I love it. I love that music. The tremoloing and it's definitely inspired by that.
We were just talking about black metal.
Yeah, there's so many
Video
metal
recording.
bands. That genre is insane. There's so many bands, incredible. And the network, the community around the world is amazing with all the bands.
Some of it, yeah.
Don't.
Some of it.
Some of it, I guess. Yeah. It's just.
There's also some. Yeah.
Yeah, so probably. But anyway.
Yeah. Yeah.
Would you be open to discussing the tunings?
Oh yeah.
Would you be open to discussing the tunings?
Yeah. So the nice thing about the 12-string is the smaller string here is easy to detune, and so I was just doing an interval of a third on the bottom, like tuning it down so it's C and E, and then on the 5th string I was doing like a major 7th, A and G sharp, and then an A and G. So just a few little things. It's easy to control live. In the studio I maybe get into it more, but that's also the thing about this guitar. It's so well made, and it can handle any tuning really. You can detune it, retune it live, and it's nice. That might be difficult with it. But yeah, just a few things to get those intervals and something different. Also chants. I don't always know what it's going to be, so that's fun. Adds another.
Somebody else tunes the guitar.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
I have a question regarding your use of repetition.
Yeah.
And I'm interested in finding out how you found that, or that found you, in relationship to, was that something rhythmically and repetitive element wise that you discovered in yourself very early on? Or did you start to hear inspirational music where you said, oh, that's a bag I really like.
Yeah.
I find as a player, I'm very interested in those discoveries that I end up finding like, oh, I didn't know that was what I was really into. So even my interest in the way that you play, I find it interesting even if I didn't know who the person was. I'm always, I have a lot of those things too, and I wonder for all of us, where do we, and how do we get closer to that? And when we do, it becomes in many ways very almost prolific.
Yeah.
And I'm just wondering, did a lot of that come first, or did you discover that and then implement your playing into that? And either one isn't bad or good.
Yeah, I think I heard it first in a lot of music that I loved in 80s pop music and music from the 60s, like, I don't know, studio work. But I also, for me, the physical act of trying to play something repetitive perfectly over and over and lock into it, it's like a challenge. It's always been a challenge from early on, and I always like to try to be able to do that. In the 80s, you would hear a lot of music that I liked that did that, and that's where it kind of came from. I heard it first. I don't know, Talking Heads or James Brown or whoever. I remember the Tina Turner album. I remember that song, Better Be Good to Me or something. There was like some incredible guitar. That's my earliest memory of hearing like interlocked guitars playing repetitively. And I was like, I was little and I heard that. And it wasn't until later where I had some more knowledge of harmony and how to do that I was able to. And I don't know. Does that answer? I guess it. And then minimalism and stuff I got into later, and repetition. And I love the guitarist Mick Barr, who does a lot of that stuff. And I don't know. It felt natural, and I started to do it. And for me, the physical relationship to the act is almost important as the love that trying to execute that live. And I don't know. It's a good question.
Well, and I'm trying to describe it correctly.
Yeah, no,
it's.
I think I heard it first, and it didn't come until I had the facility to be able to try to do it and understand what that was. I remember hearing those records a little in the 80s, and I'm like, wow, what is that? It sounded like incredible to me, but I don't know. Yeah, I'm trying to think of some other examples of stuff, but yeah, I don't know. That's a good question.
Yeah. Do you have any more?
No.
Oh, wait. I think you had a question.
Yeah, I wanted to ask about, so admittedly we're in a very relatively claustrophobic normal space, but
nervous, yeah.
I was wondering how you think about foot switches as a sort of haptic thing in performance.
Yeah.
It's you're like alligator clipping things together and doing things like that, but the foot switch is such a distinctive high-end sound mixed into performance, and it's a really interesting, like, naturalistic admitting to the equipment sort of sound.
Yeah, I try to use it as sort of like just accents, like a snare drum. I don't know, like a drum set, like a fill when you go to it and you're not always on the toms. I don't know, I try to use it like that. Surprise tactic, I don't know. Especially in solo playing in a room like this, I don't want to have too many harsh sounds or. Yeah, pedals for me, like this is so many for me right here, 3. Like it's a lot.
It's a dinosaur one.
Yeah, it's just they're just sort of like accents. Yeah, I just use them as colors. I try to just use them briefly, Does that answer?
Yeah.
Is that what you mean? Yeah.
You were referring to like the acoustic sound?
Not even the pedal itself, just the sound of the foot switch itself.
Yeah, the sound of the foot switch itself. That's the click. The click is just part of it. You got to give into it. These are just, they're just loud.
I'm surprised there's even still a sound. The amount of times.
Yeah.
I mean, people do make quiet ones.
Yeah, this.
I do have one really quick. I noticed, like, when you play, and I've seen you all over the years, you tend to you're physically playing the notes that you're playing. You almost act out. Is that more of to feel the music or some sort of a, I mean, I don't know. It's just
physical. To me, like I was saying before, it's just the act of performing. The physical act is kind of what draws me to music. I don't know, just getting into it. Just I don't really feel like I've done a good job unless I'm like completely drenched in sweat and my arm hurts. I don't feel like it wasn't worth it if I don't give it physical. Yeah,
and like that kind of can be taken out of the equation.
Yeah,
but
at least
it's so
while I can do it. Yeah,
yeah, totally.
Because they asked me if I wanted to sit down, and at first I was like, yeah, sometimes I do sit down.
Yeah,
but I didn't.
Yeah.
Anyway, you.
Yeah.
Actually, this is a good kind of follow-up. What would you wish you would have known before physically, let's say, in relationship to the specificness of guitar and its physicality? What would you have loved to have known, then that you know now, if I'm asking that right? And maybe even from, let's say, this is a ergonomically challenging thing, whatever the theme would be. But
what would I have liked to have known then? Yeah.
That you know now about, let's say, practice.
Sure.
My body.
Oh yeah, big time. You don't have to push so hard. Like, I would have liked to develop even though it like feels like this, I've learned how to loosen up and not always push so hard. But when I do, you have to. But I spent so many years just thinking that I had to push harder and harder and harder, and it wasn't really going there until.
Is every gauge for strings different on each setup for each?
Yeah, I do 10s, but I tried to go to 9s. It's a little too, but the biggest thing, honestly, you're saying is the pick for me has been the biggest change, like switching between this this very thin, and this has made a big difference. I used to use like heavier picks.
Oh, well, you like the flex.
Yeah, the flex is for some stuff, and then the green. So I wish I knew that I wish I knew there were more things. I always come late to the game where it's like, get a compression pedal, or you don't have to push so hard, or just try to change the pick, or just like making little. I wish I knew earlier that I didn't have to push myself so hard to get to for repetition. You don't have to. If you just kind of relax, you can still get that. You can still have it, but yeah, I wish I kind of knew that back then, but got to figure that out.
Idea of looping.
Yeah, I can't really do that.
That would be like the most insane thing. I think the world would probably explode.
I can't really make that.
No worries.
What is the? I can't be convincing with that looping and playing over it. Yeah, I don't.
You're making your own loops.
Yeah, I try to. Try to come back to them and play. But I mean, people do it really well. But it's just too many pedals.
I think the world would close in on itself.
Yeah, it would be too. It would be too much. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
But
well, this is
anyway. I think I've talked. I mean,
no,
I have nothing
great.
else to say.
Yeah, and thank you so much for being here.
Thank you so much for coming.
Yeah,
Lily, thank you so much.
Brandon.